Okay, so I haven't been filming the babies in a while because they're basically in a routine now. So what I do is every other day I feed them. They both act the exact same they have from birth. They're about a month old now, a little bit more than that. And here they both are. And again, they act the exact same as they have. They're different between the two of them, but they have the exact same personality they've always had, which is very interesting to see that they right out of the egg, and I assume this will go throughout their entire adulthood. And the main interaction I have with them is feeding them, and that's the same with all the Crested Geckos. And they definitely have certain personalities, but it's good to know that it's always that way. Like it's, or I don't know that yet, but I assume so. So on top here we have Chris, and then on the bottom we have Finnick. So I named the other one, and I'm keeping both these guys. I don't know if they're male or female. I won't know for a while, and they can actually get pretty big, and then one day you're like, oh, it's a male. And that's what happened with their dad. So, yeah, they are doing well. Chris is pretty hard to get to eat. Finnick will generally eat for me really well, and that's how it's been every single time I fed them. The only thing is that they poop a lot. Like, I didn't realize how much they would poop, and they do defecate very often. So you can see in this, not really a water dish. I don't think they even drink out of it, but I like to provide it for them. They defecated in that, so I need to wash that out. And then we have one there, one there, one there, and there's probably more in here. And it's just been 2 days since I've cleaned this out. So I clean it out every 2 days, every single time I go to feed them. What I'll do is I'll either move them into another enclosure, clean this one, and then feed them, or I'll feed them in this enclosure and then move them into another enclosure, clean this one, move them back. Something along the lines of that. Not real difficult. All I do is I feed them, which I'm going to do that here now, and then I'll kind of walk you through this process, as well as I have another one, another baby, which I'm going to add in with them. I don't think that'll be a whole big thing. They're pretty similar in size. So, and then here we have Teddy's enclosure, because there's another egg that's going to be hatching, and that's the sibling to this one. Actually, they're all siblings technically, but here's this one. It's smaller, but I don't think it's too much smaller. It's a whole lot darker, but I don't know if that's gonna, affect anything. So very similar actually to these guys, but it's a whole lot darker. I wanted to make sure it was nice and humid in there for it, but I can't keep it in this enclosure. I mean, I could, but this one has better ventilation, and I think it'll do better with these guys. And I mean, if there were a couple months difference, it'd be probably a problem, but they're only a month's difference. I don't think that's going to make too much of a big deal. And since there is somewhat of a size difference, I'll be able to tell them apart. So let's go ahead and start feeding these guys. Okay, so essentially right from the start, I've been hand feeding them, just as I do with the adults. I wish I didn't have to, but that seems to be the only way I can get Crested Geckos to eat. They tend not to eat on their own. I don't know if that's accurate with everybody. I assume people just kind of leave the food in there for some of them, but with mine, it just never really works very well. And what I think you can do is kind of raise them up on crickets and then start feeding them the diet once they get a little bit bigger, and then they can find it better and stuff. But for now, and I do leave the diet in with them all the time. So once I'm done feeding them, I'll put the diet in with them. And I would assume they'd find it and eat it, but they don't. So there's that. And this is just what I've been doing. Now what I'll do with him is I just need to get stuff on his face, and then he'll lick it up eventually. So there he goes. And this is essentially how I feed him. Or her. I don't know. I don't know their genders. I give them both male names because it's what I tend to do, and then I'll change it, if we find out it's a female at some point. So these are the first 2 babies I've ever hatched, and now I've technically hatched other ones, which is interesting. So these 2 will definitely be my pets. I'll be raising them up. I really hope that they happen to be female somehow, because that would be pretty good, because then I could just get a male. And then I could eventually mate them, which is probably whatever they turn out to be. I will, well, if they turn out to be male, then I'll probably end up mating them with Darwin someday, because that's the Crested Gecko that I have that they're not related to. If they turn out to be female, then I will get another male, just because they would be pretty cool to be able to breed my, the babies once they're a certain size, so then I could have like grand babies, essentially. See, this obviously isn't his favorite thing, but I've tried to do roaches and the really small mealworms or lesser mealworms, but he just doesn't seem to be interested in insects. But I feel like they would definitely be interested in crickets. But as you can see, he's pretty good size, pretty good weight. I wouldn't say he's super skinny. I mean, he looks good. So he actually looks the same as his sibling, which is very strange because they have such different eating habits. But I make sure he gets enough. So I have a lot of eggs on the way, which is really concerning to me because this takes a while. Like, I'm going to be honest here. So I'm going to have to figure out something because I can't do this with like 10 Crested Geckos. That's just not going to happen. I mean, right now I'm doing it with 6, 7. Actually, I'll be doing it with 7 now, which is going to be interesting. So, So it's going to be really fun to watch these guys grow up. Also to watch their personableness grow up. So not all Crested Geckos, at least from what I've heard, not all Crested Geckos are social. All of my Crested Geckos have always been, well, not social. They've always been handleable, I'll say that. So in comparison to me, they've been social, or in relation to me. So it'll be interesting to see how these guys are because I've never raised a baby up to see how that turns out as far as handleability goes. So like Darwin was pretty small, definitely not anywhere near these guys small, but at the time she was really tiny from what I knew. But she has turned out to be just the most fantastic Crested Gecko ever. And I have a feeling that Finnick is going to be pretty similar to her. So now what I'm going to do is he's eaten. I am going to take this enclosure, which has the new baby in it, and I'm just going to put him in here with the new baby because this is what I do once I always have this enclosure ready, or this tub ready for when once I'm done feeding them, I'll put them in I'll put them in this tub while I feed the other one. So then I can clean out the tub, which I'll show you guys that. Okay, so here is Finnick. I named him just the other day. It took me like a month to name him, and I have like a list of the names that I really like, and I eventually decided that, I don't know. Honestly, I knew that if I named one and not the other, then I would, oh man, he's going. He's on the phone stand and he can't climb it. I would favor the one that I named. But the problem is Chris is kind of annoying because he won't eat for me as well. So I don't know what Finnick is doing. Anyway, in conclusion, I decided that I was going to have them both named. So here is Finnick. And no videos have come out about him yet. So people will probably try to name him. I'll name the other geckos. Actually, all the other geckos that I breed or I produce, anybody can name them. Okay, I'm not gonna name them because I don't know if I'm gonna keep them. So maybe I'll do polls and stuff. That'll probably be fun. He's not into it today. Oh, there you go. Hey, you want to eat some of that? Yeah. Come on. There you go. You see what he does? He eats it because he's smart. Yes. They should do like this biting thing. See what he's doing? Linus doesn't do this, so Chris is more like Linus. Phoenix. Finnick is more like Teddy, so that's nice. And then this thing that they do with their head, they put it up. That's pretty normal too. It kind of helps the food get down. And he's done. I'm going to put him into here with the baby. And there you go. Man, he's really running today. I don't know what that's about. But now what I'm going to do is I'll take this one. So there's all this poop in here, or feces, and I'm going to take it like this, and I'll get it all with the paper towel that was down, and then I'll throw the paper towel away, and then what I'm going to do is, okay, so this is my shower, and I utilize it a lot when it comes to the animals, but as you can see, I was watering my plants, which is really nice. So I can just take all my plants, set them down there, spray them, and then they can drain like that. And I'm going to take this, and I can't really find a good way to film it, so I'm not going to. I'll just explain it. There could be feces or food on these leaves, but I wouldn't really see it because it could be, you know, on the other underside or whatever. I just want to clean the leaves, and the best way I found to do that is I will just turn this on warm, so just flip this, and it'll be really warm water, and then I will spray this, and I'll spray down the tub, and I will spray down those, and then if I get the outside of the container wet, I wipe that down, but I don't wipe down the inside. I just leave it because I don't have chlorine in my water. I have well water, so then just adds to the humidity, and then I will show you what I do after that. Okay, so it's simple from here. We just put this down, and I cleaned this out, and I made sure to clean it really well because it had feces in it before. And then we preferably want this in a way that the crested geckos won't get under it. So there we go. And then this kind of wets it down, gets it to stick there. And then I put this in, generally facing some way. I'll bring this out like that. And I'll put this here. And then we have a little food bowl for them. I will take some of the food and I will put it in there. So this gives them the opportunity to eat if they want to, or eat more if they want to. And then that's fine, and I'll kind of hide it somewhat within the leaves. So then they can probably find it. Actually, I'm probably going to put that in a corner because they tend to hide out in corners. So if I want them to find it, then this is probably, you know, more optimal for that. And then I'll just take it and spray it down. I generally spray it down after I add them in, but it doesn't really matter. And I'll put a little bit of water in here. So then I really just don't want them to dry out at all. So I want to keep them nice and moist and very, very, very humid because crested geckos live in a very humid environment, honestly. So here, I'm going to take this and we'll go ahead and take Chris, one, and then Finnick, who's being really spastic today. So I feel like its tail might be a little bit like crooked. I could be wrong there. But overall, it's interesting to look at the differences. It's like its head is real small. Did you see? Like you see how its head's real, it's not wide. Like these guys are wide. See that? They both just have really wide heads. And it is not. And as well, it's just smaller in general. So actually, once this guy's born, I'm going to do the weights and everything with it, and it's kind of concerning me. So I'm assuming it's going to be born by morning. I don't know. If it's not born by morning, I'll probably take the egg out and see if I maybe need to help it or something like that. I don't know if that's like the correct thing to do. I don't know how long you're supposed to wait. It could probably be like a couple more days till it hatches. But I have like an incubator, so considering that it's so close to hatching, I'm not really worried about accidentally keeping it wrong suddenly now. So I think that if I were to put it into that, well, it's an incubating tub. It's the same tub as one of these, but it's in here, and it has vermiculite in it, and it has 2 eggs in there that seem to be doing well, and they're from Darwin. So if I put it in there, then I wouldn't lose the baby, but for now, I just don't have the adult in here. I don't have Teddy in here, and I have very good visibility on the egg, so I can see once it's hatched, just like I can see the one that this one hatched out of. So here we go. Let's see if they interact. One thing that I've noticed is it took about a week for them to act like normal crested geckos, and after that, they're just like adults. They're just small adults. That's essentially what they are. I mean, they look very similar, and they basically are the same thing. But the babies, like the just born babies, like this guy, kind of act differently. But that is fine. I'll just leave these guys in here, and then I have them sitting right in front of the adult's cage. And there they are. They're doing well. And I will eventually add those 2 bigger ones in here, Finnick and Chris, into this tank. But first I need to let them get bigger, because they need to get, I mean, I didn't realize how much they'd grown, honestly, but I need to let them get a decent amount bigger before I'm all right with adding them in here. I need to be able to find them. So about twice the size they are now, if not like 3 times the size, then I will be more comfortable putting them in here. And I can't imagine that'll probably be in a couple months, I think. I hope you enjoyed this about 1 month update on Christopher and Finnick. And if you happen to really enjoy this video, feel free to like it down below. If you have any comments or concerns, feel free to leave it in the comments below. And then if you want more content on these babies and how to breed crested geckos and that whole thing, then definitely subscribe, because I have a ton of content coming out about this. As I said, this was filmed November 18th. It's currently March something, 2021. So my videos are kind of backed up a little bit. So that is why that whole thing works that way. So I already know a ton of stuff that's going to happen. So definitely stay tuned, because a ton of stuff is going to happen.